Like I always ask people, what did school teach you about money? And for most people, say, well, it's not important. I remember I was 9 years old in the fourth grade, and I asked my elementary school teacher when we would learn about money, and then she looked like she had chopsticks in her hair, and she looked like a little witch. And she says to me, she says, "The love of money is the root of all evil." I said, "Who told you that?" She said, "You should learn that in Sunday school." So the corruption goes deep into religion and everything. So that's why they don't teach money. They think it's some kind of religious problem or something. I really don't understand it. Well, because I went to a rich kid's school, and by accident, this was in Hilo, Hawaii, the farthest city south, farthest south than Miami. I love Miami. But across the street was Hilo Union School, and like throw a little baseball and hit this other school, was Hilo Riverside School. And Riverside School was for rich kids, public school, but they owned the plantations. My classmates owned the plantations. Across the street were the first generation immigrants to the plantations. And so I realized I was poor, although my father was the head of education, poor dad, And so that's why I said, how come they have nice bicycles? Why do they belong to the yacht club? Why do they go to the country club? But where it really hit home? Because I couldn't make money anywhere. And so I used to go caddy, and carry a golf bag. And so I'd hitchhike to the country club, and I'm sitting in the caddy shack, and to get a hamburger, which was 25 cents. I remember it was a lot of money for a hamburger back then, because most hamburgers were 15 cents in town. But this is the country club. So I go to the back door of the country club, and I order a hamburger. And I look through the door, and there's my classmates in the country. And that's when I realized I was poor. I said, how come their parents belong to the country club, and my poor dad, the head of education, can't afford to go there? So that's where the whole thing kind of started clicking for me. And that's why I got back to Riverside School. I asked that teacher with the chopsticks in her hair, head pulled back, when will we learn about money? And she says, the love of money is the root of all evil. I heard the same thing in Sunday school. So the whole education system is geared to be anti-money. Religions, too. Well, it was really simple because my poor dad, I finally bugged him enough, I said, well, when am I going to learn about money? He said, why don't you ask your best friend's father, my classmate? And that was Mike in the book. I had to change his name because the family doesn't want to be known. And I said, why does Mike's father know about money? My poor dad said, because he's an entrepreneur. I went, what's that? And what are you? He says, I'm an employee. I'm only 9 years old. I'm learning 2 new words, employee and entrepreneur. I went, what? What's the difference, And then my poor dad says, well, an entrepreneur must know about money. An entrepreneur must speak the language. I went, what? And then my poor dad says, I said, what are you? He says, I'm a school teacher. I'm an employee. And what about you? Why don't you have to learn to speak about money? He says, because all I want is a paycheck and a pension. Paychecks and pension. So that's kind of I'm 9 years old. I am totally confused now. So I go across town. It's a little dinky little sugar plantation town. Like I said, my classmates owned the plantations, and the kids across the street at Union School, all union members, they worked for the plantations. And my other, so I'm going, I'm poor. So I sit down with my rich dad, who never went to school, ironically, and he wouldn't teach me about money either. And he kept rejecting me. I didn't realize it was part of the process. He wanted to find out how badly I wanted to learn. And he says, and as we all know as entrepreneurs, right, salesmanship begins when the customer says no. And so the more he said no, the more I got inside. I said, well, and so I kept, going back to talk to him, and all. He says, get out of here, kid. So that was test number 1 from my rich dad. Test number 2 was as if I teach you, you have to work for me for free. And I said, why for free? He says, because if I pay you, you'll think like your dad, poor dad. The rich don't work for money. So if you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is right there, the rich don't work for money. And then I'm now all confused as a 9-year-old kid. And so that's when the whole thing started about financial education. And I realized, my poor dad, he was going for his PhD, which stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. And in the academic world, the school teachers, most are they don't know it. They're good people, but they don't know they're And my poor dad kept saying, well, if I get my PhD, then I'll be safe. PhD? What's that? So he went to Stanford, University of Chicago, Northwestern. He still learned nothing about money. And so our kids, the young kids, about your generation today, they're they're indoctrinated, not educated. Black Lives Matter, critical race. I don't know what woke I don't know what the heck's going on anymore. So our education system is more corrupt today than, let's say, 60 years ago when I was a kid. There's a bigger question here is, you see, the language of money is you know the definition of the word. So, and the good thing about it is you want to be rich, just speak the language of money. Like if I wanted to go to, let's say, Spain, I would learn Spanish. I'm fourth generation Japanese. I want to go to Japan, I learn Japanese. But when you go to a school system, you learn the language of a school teacher. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, pay taxes, get out of debt, and buy a house because it's an asset. But all you have to do is learn the words. So my poor dad called his house an asset. And my rich dad said, your house is a liability. Again, it's just the power of words and language. So the difference between rich people and poor people are words. And words are free. And when I say that, and it naturally it upsets the school teachers who are mostly, they're not bad people. When I was in 1965, I read the Communist Manifesto by Marx. And as I went to military school in New York. And reading the book, I realized, my God, my family's communist.
Wow.
So they believed in taxes. They believed in, they abolish real estate. Today Klaus Schwab says, you will have nothing and you'll be happy. That's all Communist Manifesto stuff. Well, because, in education, they use postmodernist education. They don't speak in specifics. They speak in generalities. Like, wouldn't you say we should all be equal? I mean, you wouldn't disagree with me, but it's not reality. So the postmodernist communists, the Marxists in our academic system, they speak in these platitudes like equality, this, that, and it's as non-specific as possible. But as a capitalist, I must speak in facts, figures, and the history. But they want to change history, the 1619 Project or whatever that is. And the real fact is, America, and then, you got to pay taxes. Well, Marx said graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. And so my father, poor dad, he believed in paying taxes. My rich dad didn't. Again, the word is taxes. And so when you look at what Biden's doing right now, he just put in 87,000 IRS agents who are armed. The reason is they're going after you, small business. They're going after the small entrepreneur. They can't touch me, because I'm not that stupid to pay taxes. And I can do it legally. But that's why I make fun of my friends Peter Schiff and Mark Moss. They were living in Puerto Rico. I said, if you were a real estate guy, you wouldn't live in Puerto Rico. You could live anywhere you want, not pay taxes, But again, it was Marx who said a graduated income tax is essential for the spread of communism. But the real facts are, in 1773, America was founded as a tax-free nation. It was called, against your homeland, England. It was Boston Tea Party, which says, screw you, we're not paying taxes. And so the real facts are America was founded as a tax-free nation. Then came 1776, which was the Battle of Lexington and Concord and the Revolutionary War. Just look at the facts.
Small ebook, big impact, the wealth tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.